Bound by Fate and Blood by Jenna O'Malley. The Merna Annals, Book 1. Chapter 2. Christian. Land ho! About time. His heart swelled as London materialized on a glittering shoreline. He craved England's salty air. On the back end of a breeze, a confectionery sweetness tingled his nose. He thought, they'll be difficult to ignore. What a wise decision to bake tomorrow's items early. We've been sailing for months, and my men will be easily persuaded to spend their pay. He brought other concerns home to make his stomach royal. Reoccurring breakouts of pox, fevers, vomiting, and unending diarrhea ruined his trek home across the Atlantic. Business and duty demanded his full attention and health. First mate, alert the captain to rouse from his quarters, he commanded to the helm deck in passing. Already done, Baron Sinclair. Thank you. And take care on shore. A man cannot be too careful, and a soldier even less, he replied. The last time you said that, good sir, we were delayed abroad for 6 months. Christian, the youngest man to ever be, Baron Sinclair chuckled. You know my three muses and how they operate. Everything comes with a price. Balance dictates the price, and price is not always just nor fair. Much like the rest of his crew, he didn't intend to waste another year abroad. Likewise, illness was the price to pay for prioritizing work over his needs. Though this trip lasted longer than he expected, he agreed to sail with William Godolphin, England's envoy extraordinary, 6 months later, and longer, for their sakes. A rough winter was not ideal for sailing the Atlantic. Besides, King Charles II's political puppet would negotiate controls over the Caribbean with Spain and, on England's behalf, money multiplied before it trickled into Christian's hands, and he passed it on to those who worked for it the hardest, his crew. Baron Sinclair! The ship's captain greeted Christian with an open palm. You'll be home by bedtime. Christian accepted the handshake with a firm resolve. Your wife will enjoy cooking for you tonight. The old sea dog shook with explosive laughter. Yes, but she envies your new arrangement with Sir Godolphin, watching you win the old powderhead's favor before delivering him to Spain and turning for London took tactical patience for someone your age. 3 years bound to England in exchange for what we have done is not long. Christian wouldn't admit such in public, but business savvy encouraged him to propose a reevaluation period upon expiration of the contract. Unbeknownst to the captain, Godolphin agreed without hesitation. Dare I offer you retirement again, as is tradition when we arrive in London, safe and exhausted? Do not say such profanities so loudly. My wife might hear you from the other side of the harbor. Laughter shook the captain's beer belly, but his mirth faded. You never stopped, do you, boy? Just like your father, Silas. I was raised to be a worker, a soldier, a sailor, a businessman, and a gentleman. Do not worry. I don't intend to repeat my father's life, or how it ended. While he did believe his father died too young, he failed to outlive the legacy he inherited. A decade after Silas's unexplained passing, Christian oversaw the largest production of merchant ships based out of Scotland, and he did so from one of his own ships for too long. Racing to the plank with his bag slung over his shoulder, he pushed aside a prideful smirk. Crew members spat their farewells, and he returned them in good humor, friendly and not. He tousled calloused fingers through sun-kissed brunette hair and inhaled the marina's sweet air to stave off homesickness. A better meal awaited him with better company. I wonder what she packed this time, he thought. He observed the docks for a glimpse of his younger sister's auburn, waist-long curls catching twilight's shimmer. Anna knew when to arrive with a change of clothes and one of her delicious picnics to share. She trained herself to be a fairy godsister when he first traveled without their father. The role meant keeping him supplied with any comfort while home and away, so long as the power to do so laid within her reach. Excited for her arrival, he thought, she will be instrumental in convincing our mother about returning to Eden Abbey. We Scots aren't as safe here in London as we once were. London's aristocracy sneered with contempt at Silas and his new money for years after the man died. Several of the powderheads demanded the family should sell their estate and move back to the lowlands. Many others showed disrespect by neglecting the funeral. Christian assumed the role as head of the family estate in power and title a week later. They cowed when the crown deemed him an asset, Adventures abroad no longer held the same appeal, though. Price, balance, he whispered a reminder. Patience. The plank clattered to the docks, and after racing down it, he climbed to a higher vantage point. Grasping batten-down ropes to lean over the crowd, he stretched as far as he dared without falling. Where are you, Anna? He reached for a locket hidden under his shirt. A piece of auburn curl closed inside comforted him with reminders of the last time he saw her. He could feel himself rotating in a saddle and calling after her, "Stop being foolish, lassie. Mother needs your help with Ronan. I must go, and you must stay here." As clear as a summer sky, her reply whispered in the edges of his memory, "Not without a charm to make you come back every time. You once promised Ian doesn't go anywhere without Anna, and you're not leaving without something to look after you in my place." Her name for him was his favorite, Ian. The blessed locket, her last birthday present from Silas, was his most priceless possession now. Tokens he carried about his person that proved somebody at home cared. "Anna!" he called over the crowd. He could depend on his sister as much as he could the sun and stars, with the moon rising soon. Traveling the roads alone wouldn't be her wisest idea. A foul smell whistled through a sharp wind blowing off the coast. It intermixed with the salty breeze and vanished. Deep in his stomach, sourness formed into a hardening knot. "Lassie, where are you?" he thought. A gaggle of the Baroness's servants swarmed him. The hammer and rose crest on their foppish lapels replaced common pleasantries with indignation. "Not this charade! Worst homecoming ever!" A frantic man scrambled from a carriage more pompous than the last one his mother purchased. "Baron Sinclair, welcome home! I pray you had safe passage." The footman opened a dainty door not built to accommodate a large, brawny Scot. Instead of climbing inside, Christian snatched reins from an armed escort's lazy hands, leaving other horses attached to the carriage alone. "I will meet you at Sinclair Manor. Finish whatever errands my mother enlisted you to do and follow at a pace." The guard seemed opinionated rather than concerned. "The roads are littered with demons and heathen killers since you last set foot on these shores, good Baron. I wouldn't travel without an escort if I were you. England is safer than you think." Climbing onto the saddle, Christian directed the horse on the quickest route out of town. The late hour prevented a grand welcome party. He thanked mercy for that. One of the escorts likely sent a messenger ahead to alert her and her guests who'd be visiting. Coincidentally, of course, with their daughters, he thought. He desired a good swig of his best friend's mead and the embrace of a mattress not rocking like a damp cradle. Being thrust into the arms of somebody to relieve his frustrations while giving him a million more wasn't a priority. So far, the adolescent girls his mother deemed worthwhile by status and wealth failed to wear the pearl ring stashed away in his bag. He didn't want an anchor at home to control him once she died. What he needed was an equal at his side to share life's adventures, a goddess unafraid to put him in his place, somebody who would take him as everything if his family's money and title disappeared to leave him with nothing. "I have forgotten how much sooner nighttime arrives here compared to shores farther south. And this road is too quiet," he said to the horse. London's outskirts teemed with thugs and thieves at least and murderers at worst. Nothing compared to the warriors he fought in the Caribbean. Talks of demons and fae sounded ridiculous. Christian twisted to check his rear with a sense of dread. No one followed him, he thought, halfway at this point. Dismounting, he led the panting beast toward the tree line, where he heard a stream he often swam in as a boy. Muddy evidence from recent flooding covered his boots. It meant well-watered crops to enjoy the fall harvest. He left the horse before taking a deep drink from the bank and inspected his reflection. Traveling with another noble required a shave aboard the ship. Per usual, he forewent formal hair-trimming routines when it was just him and the crew. Price. Balance, he thought. Unfair, sadistic, unjust. Baroness must accept a late arrival at her doorstep instead of a man half asleep and reeking of ship stench. A stretch curled his toes and popped his limbs. With a yawn, he observed a distant cityscape washed in sunset peach rays. He tossed his overcoat onto the saddle. Seconds into undoing the buttons on his shirt, a feral growl in the distance startled his horse. Sunlight's final rays disappeared over the landscape, casting nighttime's sprawling, shadowy gown. Reaching for the sword and firearm sitting at his waistline, he took cover to the nearby set of bushes. Silvery blonde hair shrouded an attacker's face to his left. He leapt at his assailant. Two undecipherable beings provided ranged backup, and he fired a round overhead to spook the horse. He was surrounded, and the beast would return to the manor and signify an emergency upon unoccupied and panicked arrival. Solitude's price hung his life in the balance. A trio of assailants circled him. He noted the silhouette of each enemy and realized they seemed to be like him, a human, and not what he thought a demon might be. They moved with a speed he did not think possible. Losing sunlight didn't hinder them in human ways, though. A frustrated battle cry bellowed a Scots Gaelic barrage that earned him laughter in return. When his fists plowed into an attacker's gut, he felt pain sear through his left calf. A throwing dagger chunked into the dirt nearby seconds later. Twisting to avoid a returning fist, he couldn't ignore a meaty wound's throbbing presence in his leg. The enemy blurred around him in the air, tripping and shoving him in random directions. They boasted of the upper hand in French, and a language he didn't quite recognize. A deep male voice chuckled against his back, and an arm choked around his neck. Fighting to expel air from burning lungs, Christian glared over his shoulder. He recoiled at the sight of fangs. A demon, he thought. Poor little hunter, kidnapped by his prey. The creature ran his nose along Christian's jugular. My escort. They will pass soon, he thought again. Dropping his firearm and sword, his fingers clawed the limb, flattening his windpipe. We took care of your escort before you left London. A bone-cold chill raced down his spine as he thought, how did I speak? Did I speak? Can I speak? No, mon chéri. Your sweet lips won't say a thing. And I hear every word. So crystalline a sound. Be civil and let us have a small chat while my friends take care of those scouts hoping to find you alive. Your horse can't save their lives or yours in our hands. We won't harm the boyo. We'll trade him in town, discreetly as is proper. Don't struggle. You'll waste all that air you crave. Christian tried to demand release, but he wheezed more. No need to resist. Your fellow guildsmen will slay you for not killing me on sight if I let you go. Did your parents not warn you about that part? Confusion masked his panic. He tried to shake his head, to tell this assailant he did not know anything about these hunters. His mind screamed the same, just in case. Silvery brows furrowed over mahogany eyes. You do not know of what I say? How interesting. Why wouldn't the gilded governess train the eldest son she bore the slayer? Burning flesh and smoke filled the glen. A new figure darted into the clearing, and a female voice called to the French assailant, Frey! The hunters! They're razing Sinclair Manor. None of this makes sense. I must alert my familiars at once. Blood-curdling distant screams and French slander filled Christian's ears as the choking arm gave way. A heavy fist slammed into his head, so he dropped to the dirt and darkness. Anna Karina, where are you, lassie?